Hello everyone, today I will be reviewing Rear Window. So Rear Window was directed by Alfred Hitchcock and stars James Stewart and Grace Kelly, and James Stewart plays a photographer called L.B. Jeffries, and L.B. Jeffries was unfortunately injured, so he is confined to a wheelchair where he has a cast on his leg, and he lives in an apartment, so he spends most of his time looking outside in the courtyard through his rear window, and in this courtyard there's lots of other apartments that L.B. Jeffries can see and look into, and as such he can see what all these other people are doing through their windows and can see what they're up to. L.B. Jeffries also has a girlfriend called Lisa, played by Grace Kelly, and he has a nurse visit him sometimes called Stella, played by Thelma Ritter. Now, one of the fantastic things about this film is that most of it is seen from James Stewart's point of view, L.B. Jeffries, the character, his point of view. The camera pretty much for most of the film stays inside his apartment. So everything that James Stewart is seeing, we as the audience are seeing as well. Now, throughout this film, what happens is that L.B. Jeffries, while looking at what's going on in the other apartments, he sees all these different people and he thinks he sees something bad happen. He thinks he sees a man murder his wife. Although he doesn't actually see it, he thinks all the evidence points that way. He's been watching what this guy is up to, and it certainly looks like, from his point of view, that he has murdered his wife. What we see happen in most of this film is that it will show something happening from L.B. Jeffries' point of view, and then a camera will turn back to L.B. Jeffries and show what his reaction to it is exactly. And this obviously affects what we as the audience think. So we see something happen, then we see L.B. Jeffries' reaction, and we think, okay, so he's thinking this about it. So most of the time we are agreeing with what L.B. Jeffries is thinking, and we're in line with his way of thinking. There is one thing that happens in this film. There's one brief moment where L.B. Jeffries is sleeping, and there's something that happens that he doesn't see happening because he's asleep, but still we as the audience do see happening. And this is a very interesting point in the film, because we're thinking, okay, we've seen something happen, L.B. Jeffries hasn't, so is L.B. Jeffries going to be thinking about this the wrong way? And this is very clever because it gives us a bit of a conflict with L.B. Jeffries' way of thinking and makes us question what he is thinking, whether he is actually going about this the right way. Now, in this film, we also get lots of other different characters, although most of these characters are just seen in their windows from L.B. Jeffries' point of view. So we've got a woman who is always dancing and always has lots of men over to visit her. We get this other woman who's always on her own, but who wants a male companion. We get this couple who have a dog and spend a lot of time out on a fire escape. And we have this young couple who have just got married. And it's almost like we are watching lots of different television sets all across the courtyard, because each of these windows gives us a view into all of these people's different lives. In some ways, this film is a bit of a surreal experience, because L.B. Jeffries is almost a character who is watching lots of different television sets, almost lots of different panels of a comic strip, and we are seeing things from his point of view, but we are also watching L.B. Jeffries as well, watching these people through their windows. My opinion of this film is that it's an excellent mystery film, and it's not a typical Hitchcock thriller. I mean, it's not like films like Vertigo and Psycho, where there are sort of scary moments which really sort of put you on the edge of your seat. It's more about trying to figure out what is happening here in this film, because a lot of the time we are seeing things happen and we don't know why. There are bits missing in this puzzle, and we are trying to figure out exactly what the explanation is and why these things happening and what are the missing pieces of the puzzle. How can we put everything together to explain what is happening and what is going to be the end result of this? And I found this a very easy film to watch because it all flows very well, and because the whole film is just set, well, really in the apartment and in this courtyard area. We never go outside the area, so it's all very contained. So it all just seems like one steady flow of a film. There's no bits in this film which seem out of place or unusual. It all seems to fit together very well. And it's just a very comfortable place to be in this apartment from LB Jeffries' point of view, where we're seeing all these things happen and we want to know. It's almost like we're being a peeping Tom, I suppose the phrase is, when we're watching all these people, but they're not watching us. They don't know that we are watching them. And in some ways, it's almost like when we're watching a film, we're watching all these characters do certain things, but the characters obviously are not watching us and they don't know that we are watching them. So it's a very interesting experience, a bit surreal really, to be honest. I'm not going to spoil the ending of this film because the ending is actually very good, but I think it wraps up the film very well. It's quite a satisfying ending. I was very happy with the ending. I had seen this film quite a long time ago and I could roughly remember most of it, but there were still bits that I couldn't remember exactly. So when I watched it last night, I was very happy with being able to see the full film again and finally able to give a review of it. And I was very impressed with this film. The ending is absolutely brilliant, very satisfying, and it almost comes very quickly at the end. So there's lots of build up. We never really know when we're going to find out the answers, and then at the end everything comes at once and it all wraps up very nicely. So overall, I have to say Rear Window, I think it's a fantastic film. I think it probably is one of Hitchcock's best films. It's not personally my favourite Hitchcock film, but I do think it's a very good watch. The only thing that was slightly missing from this film is we don't get a musical score, like often with Hitchcock films like Vertigo and Psycho. We'll get a score by Bernard Herrmann, which is normally very good. And this film doesn't really have a score, but I suppose it doesn't really need it, since if it did have a score, it might seem slightly out of place in this film, since the scope of this film isn't quite as big as Hitchcock's other films, especially films like North by Northwest, because as I've said earlier, this film just really takes place in this small area and perhaps a score isn't really needed for this film. So I can see why they didn't bother with a score for this one. I love this film. I'm going to give it a rating of 9 out of 10. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I do think it's a very good mystery film and an excellent thriller and one of Alfred Hitchcock's best film. So definitely check it out if it sounds like your kind of thing. So there we go. So that is Rear Window. So have you guys seen Rear Window? What do you think? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.